today. I'm very excited to be talking about the Signature Synagogue program. My name is Hannah Sattler. I am the Assistant Director of Synagogue Engagement here at ADL New York, New Jersey. The majority of my work is around engaging with synagogues, particularly through this program. So I'm very excited that you joined us today to hear more about how you can engage further with ADL. So to start us off, I will, before I introduce Scott Richmond, our Regional Director, the format for tonight's information session, I'm just going to be going over the main tenets of the program. I will introduce an active member, Phil and Sue Hawk, who are the community liaisons from Temple Shrei Tefillah Israel, just to talk about their experience in the program. And then we will have time at the end for Q&A. So the chat function at the bottom, if you have any questions while I'm presenting, feel free to put the questions in that chat and we'll get to them at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Scott Richmond to talk, just to introduce yourself. He is 8 days on the job as our New York, New Jersey Regional Director, so be nice.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And you know, I've had the privilege, even though I've only been 8 days on the job, of interacting with Hannah. You are in great hands with a great staff person who's really devoted herself to building this initiative, which has become very important for ADL. In terms of myself, I mean, I think some of you may even know me or know my name because I've spent the past 11 years as the director of AJC, American Jewish Committee, in Westchester and Fairfield. So that was really my life. And now I've moved on to ADL and territory covers both New York and New Jersey. So I'm very excited about this switch and very excited to represent ADL. A few words about ADL so that you know the agency that you're connecting to if you're not already so familiar with it. We were founded in 1913. And really, since then, there's always been two parts of our mission. It was about stopping the defamation of the Jewish people, but it was also about securing justice and fair treatment for all, which is basically the sort of duality that exists in ADL's work in terms of fighting anti-Semitism, fighting for Israel. You know, that's the sort of particularistic idea behind ADL's work, but there's also the universalistic. So fighting against hate, fighting for civil rights and human rights for all. Very important, and that we see being played out to a great extent today. ADL started the Signature Synagogue Initiative last year. It's only a year old, summer of 2019. It was really in response to rising anti-Semitism. Obviously, you know, I don't need to tell this group about rising anti-Semitism over the past few years and rising hate. And the idea was that we were going to work with synagogues. You know, we have an amazing resource in terms of synagogues across the tri-state area with whom we can partner, with whom we can supply resources, with whom we can develop a cadre of people who are focused on this issue, build a group of liaisons who really can help us be partners in this effort to fight hate. So that was the concept behind the Signature Synagogue Initiative. Of course, you'll hear more about that, but that's the focus. So far, we have 26 synagogues that have signed up, which is amazing. 16 are in New York and 10 are in New Jersey. So New Jersey, if any of you are out there, you know, you got to catch up. This is certainly a competition. So we're relying on you. So this evening, you'll hear how ADL New York, New Jersey has adapted the program to our virtual environment. That's of course the environment that we're in. And in some ways that's of course more difficult, but in some ways it makes it easier for us to get the word out, easier for us to build programming. You'll hear about the experience of two congregants, as you heard from Hannah. We also want to put out there that there are ways that you can continue to engage with ADL going forward, at least over the next few months. We have several very important virtual events this fall that the staff is really very hard at working at. So following tonight's session, you will receive information about it. One is the Walk Against Hate. It's a virtual walk, so the idea is that people are walking on their own against hate, but there'll be a communal celebration of this. Secondly is the Concert Against Hate, which is an annual event that ADL holds. We haven't yet announced who the singer is going to be, but it's going to be an exciting program. And thirdly is the Never Is Now Summit on Anti-Semitism. This is the major event that's held every year. And this year it's going to be virtual. It's going to have a major student component, which Hannah is responsible for. So she wears several very important hats for us. And the fourth is this Thursday. I will personally be presenting to synagogues in connection with the JCRC in New York on Zoom bombing. So I don't know if this group is aware, but there was a Zoom bombing incident just this past Friday in Nyack. I think it was the Nyack City Council. You can Google it. It was written about in the Jerusalem Post. So this is still a very present issue that we deal with. There were anti-Semitic statements that were made. So I will be presenting on that. If any of you want the information about how to connect to that call, it's 12:30 to 1:30 on Thursday. It's a broader call about security issues related to the high holidays, and I will be presenting one piece of it on how to present Zoom bombing with virtual services. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Hannah, and thank you all so much for being a part of this.
Okay, thank you so much, Scott, for introducing us. So just to get us started, I mean, Scott went over this just on why ADL decided to launch a synagogue engagement initiative. Oh wait, can you see my screen? Resume sharing.
We can see it, but maybe just put it on slideshow, play from start.
Oh, I see. 1 second. One moment, sorry about this. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, great. So ADL launched the Signature Synagogue program as really a way to more proactively combat anti-Semitism and hate that we saw rising in the New York, New Jersey area. A lot of the way that ADL was engaging with synagogues was in a reactive way. So if there's an incident in the community or something like that, ADL might come in and bring a program or bring resources, but there wasn't that continued engagement, which is what really sparked the creation of this program. And it's meant to be a partnership between ADL and synagogues in New York, New Jersey as a way to unite the community around speaking out and raising awareness of anti-Semitism and hate. And it's meant to complement your existing programming and make your synagogue a central point for fighting anti-Semitism and hate in your local community. And so you may have already social justice programming, you may be engaging with anti-Semitism that's occurring in your community, and this partnership is meant to complement that work by providing direct access to our ADL resources and programming, and make this a unifying initiative for your entire community. We do this in a number of different ways through the program. There are 5 expectations for Signature Synagogues to complete within the year. The first of which is to nominate 1 or more community liaisons. So this is a congregant, a non-clergy, non-staff member, someone to bring that community voice as we're planning out the program and planning out these other expectations. This liaison really serves as a synagogue ambassador to ADL and is my main point of contact as the synagogue goes through their year-long partnership with ADL. The next expectation of the program is to host a speaker event. So we do a number of speaking events across the region, and they can cover any aspect of ADL's work, from local issues of anti-Semitism to global anti-Semitism to civil rights to extremism, online hate, anything that ADL works on, which is a lot, I know. We can provide a speaker on that topic. So this can be a panel. I do have a few examples in the next slide of just other programs that synagogues have done in the past. The next expectation is our youth program option. So it's a Words to Action workshop, which is ADL's Youth Anti-Semitism Education Program. It's a highly interactive 2-ish hour program for middle schoolers, high schoolers, pre-college, college students. We do a version of the program for each of those audiences, and it's meant to build a better understanding of anti-Semitism and provide the tools and resources that students need to really combat anti-Semitism that they're seeing in their daily life on an interpersonal level, on campus, etc. The next expectation is to distribute monthly resources and action items, which we put through a monthly newsletter. So I send a monthly newsletter out to all of my signature synagogues, and then it is their responsibility to take those resources and action items and share the appropriate ones with the rest of their congregation. And the last expectation of signature synagogues is to attend our Never Is Now Summit, which Scott briefly mentioned in the beginning. It will be fully virtual this year. I'll also explain later how we're adapting to the virtual setting, but it is expected that signature synagogues will attend the summit. It is the largest summit on anti-Semitism in the country, so it's a great way to continue engaging with ADL to get your congregants more involved. I should also note that all of these expectations can be fully customized to meet the needs of your community. This program is meant to be a partnership between ADL and synagogues, and we want it to work best for you and really complement your existing programming. So if you have a ton of youth programs and you don't have room in your calendar, I know synagogue calendars can be very difficult to manage, and you can't fit in this Words to Action workshop, that's fine. We can adjust, maybe tackle a different problem that your community is facing. Again, I really want this program to be what your synagogue needs and use what ADL has to address that. So some sample programs, just to give you an idea. All of these programs, adults and youth, have been conducted by our various signature synagogues over the past year. So on the left, you'll see the speaker events. These are all very common topics that we cover in our speaker events. So it's ADL staff presenting on these issues. And then on the right is our youth program. So again, those first two are versions of the Words to Action that we do. The first one covering anti-Semitism on campus. So we do this program mainly for the pre-college audience, and it's appropriately called Packing for College. And then the second one is more for a middle school audience, so talking about anti-Semitism through my Jewish identity. And then the third one is on, you may know ADL has other education programs that focus more on general anti-bias rather than just anti-Semitism. So we've done versions of that program for synagogue youth groups. And then the last one is a program that we're actually planning to do in the coming months on fighting hate online, focusing on online games to help students really have the tools that they need to combat hate when they see it on social media or in gaming. So the additional resources that we provide for synagogues at no extra cost, so this is just included in the program to build a community and a cohort around the partnership. So starting with quarterly webinars with ADL expert staff. So same as those speaker events, we provide one each quarter just to have another engagement opportunity. I think this has become super helpful for my signature synagogues that were struggling to adapt to the virtual environment, and they were really looking for ADL to provide some of that virtual content. And so these quarterly webinars helped to do that, so that they could get themselves back on their feet. And with their virtual programming, we could provide something to supplement in the meantime. We also have quarterly community calls with all of our liaisons to allow signature synagogues to connect with one another, to share ideas for programming, to maybe partner with synagogues that are down the street, so that they can combine resources, combine audiences when we're in person, of course. And then we also have access to our extensive library of resources. If you ever need anything, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I provide any appropriate resources, reports. If you're having an issue and you think ADL might be able to help, I'm always a phone call away from my signature synagogues. We do monthly check-ins, and we also have, all of the signature synagogues have first access to any of our regional events that we host, whether in person or virtually. The cost to joining the Signature Synagogue program is an annual fee of $1,000. So this covers all bare bones programmatic costs for each of the expectations that I laid out. This amount can be underwritten by a member of your congregation. We've had a number of angel donors in the past. It's also really important for me to note that there are synagogues, as you know, of many different sizes across our region, and cost should never be a barrier of entry for joining this program. So if you are concerned about reaching that amount, please reach out to me, and I will, we can talk about payment options. We have a number of grant funds available, so I can see if you qualify for that. Again, reiterating that cost should not be a barrier of entry for this program. How we have adapted because of COVID-19. So all of our programming has moved virtual. ADL is not doing in-person programs for the rest of 2020. Our Words to Action, our speaker events are all presented via Zoom. Our Never Is Now Summit is fully virtual. It will be the first 2 weeks of November. You'll start to be hearing about that soon if you're on any of our newsletter lists. So that will be right after the election in those first 2 weeks. We also have a number of additional ADL webinars that are hosted by our national office, including the Fighting Hate from Home series. I'll include information about all of this in the follow-up email. I also saw that someone asked about information about the Thursday program. I'm happy to put that in the follow-up as well, so you have all of this information available to you. And so as Scott mentioned, we do have 26 synagogues that are currently in the program. Today, we are highlighting Temple Sharei Philo Israel, who joined Signature Synagogues back in November. So Phil and Sue are here to just talk about what they've done so far in the program. It's listed here. They completed all of our expectations, the first in our cohort to complete all those expectations. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and get a drink of water, and Phil and Sue are going to just go over, if you can just talk about your experience in the program, what it was like partnering with ADL, that would be great. So I stopped sharing. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Hawk, and this is Phil Hawk. We're going to play a tag team. So I'm going to tell you, first of all, why our temple joined this program. Like everybody else, we saw the rising incidence of anti-Semitism, but we also had significant incidents in our local community. So it was just one of these things. It was perfect timing. It was a really good fit, and it matched our temple values. So, I mean, we met Hannah in August. It couldn't have been more perfect for us. We decided as a couple to be the liaison because we really like to get involved with a program that is very structured, that has significant resources, and also will have significant impact on your temple community. It's just one of those things that we align to. We're also early adopters, as you probably can figure out, so that was also a good fit for us.
And I would say that, if you do make this commitment, which I hope you do, when you do, then all of a sudden there's the moment of, okay, we committed to this, now what? And thankfully Hannah's there. because now you've got to try and make these things happen and get the resources and schedule. And Hannah was a great resource for us, checking in with us, or checking in with her, keeping us on track, getting us resources we needed either online or expert speakers, other resources or contacts that we needed. The timing was great for us with Never Is Now, just like it is for you, because that played out perfect for us. We actually were able to get over close to 100 members of our congregation there, which was beyond our wildest dreams. But it laid the foundation for us not being the only ones in our congregation who understood what this program was about and what ADL had available. We had some teens go with us as well, so that later on when we did Words to Action for the teens, we already had some teen members who'd been to Never Is Now, so they were kind of our messengers to their peers who were probably not going to be looking at this, with anything but a smirk, but to say this is something really good and worthwhile. We had the expert speaker pretty much as a follow-up to Never Is Now, which also played out great timing for us. The liaison calls that Hannah mentioned with contacts like yourself from other congregations was invaluable. To hear other people talk about what they were doing that worked, where they were struggling, maybe just like we were, or maybe where they had an answer for us or we had an answer for them, and even inviting each other to attend or participate in each other's programming. And I'd say, an outcome of this, as Sue mentioned, incidents in our broader communities, not just anti-Semitism, but hate in general. And this gave a much broader understanding to our congregation of not only what was going on nationally, but within the state, locally, and things that we could actually try and do about it. And with that, Hannah, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Phil and Sue. Could not have said it better myself, and I think it's important for everyone here to know that I'm not lying when I say it. This is a really invaluable program, and it brings a lot to the communities in Newark, New Jersey. So with that, that is the end of my part of the presentation. I want to open it up for Q&A. As I said before, you're welcome to put any questions you have in the chat, which is at the bottom of your screen, or if you'd like, you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
Yes, Hannah, for the community liaisons, what is the most typical profile? Is it one person, or in this case, a couple, or a committee of 5 or 6 people?
So it depends on the synagogue size. I have some larger synagogues that have a task force that they created of about 5 or 6 liaisons, and I also have synagogues that had congregants that they wanted to engage further, so they made that task force. It really depends on your synagogue size and what you think would be most appropriate for your congregation. Say about half of my synagogues have only 1 liaison, and the other half have either 2 or 3 or a larger task force.
Todd, I would just so you get a sense size-wise, we're a fairly large congregation. We have 850 member units, but we have lots of committees and lots of activities going on due to the size. And so we decided just to keep it small so we could stay focused and not drain resources from other activities.
I would also say there's not a lot of moving parts. So you really, and this is my opinion, you don't need a large committee because you saw the requirements and there's just incredible flexibility depending on what you need, that sometimes it's better just to keep it simple, and it just works better. At least it did for us.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of just trying to get more people involved. Nothing unwieldy, but I think 3, 4, or 5 just might give a broader perspective.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Okay, so We do have another question from Susan about the age of the youth program. So the youth program I mentioned called Words to Action, it can cover, we can do that program for middle schoolers, high schoolers, or college students separately. We don't do them all together. So whatever age group that you're looking to target with that program, we can adjust the curriculum to their needs. Okay. Again, you can put your questions in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. I don't see any, but I'll give it another minute.
I'm actually curious to hear from Sue and Phil about the experience with their youth programming with this, how that played out, what was the age group, what was the impact, what happened.
Sure. Well, we did Words to Action right after Never Is Now, and Hannah was very much involved. It was back before COVID. Remember the days when you can actually meet in person. So it was our high school students. I think there were 40. We had Hannah and another resource, I believe. And they worked directly with our Hebrew High. So really, Phil and I basically, once we were able to figure out what date would work, we just passed the baton to Hannah and connected her to Hebrew High. The feedback was incredible. It was very well received. In fact, we were planning on doing another one that we would involve the middle school, because we didn't do the middle school. We just did the high school. That's how good it was.
And then we just never did that one because COVID hit. And so, we were kind of like everybody waiting to see how long that was going to last, hoping we'd get back to in person.
But it's on the docket.
Yes, we will definitely get to it. But we are doing these programs virtually, just so you know. We're doing them in the smaller groups. So normally the program, we can accommodate up to 40 students with separate facilitators. So we are adjusting a little bit for the Zoom environment. Are there any other questions? Oh, Todd, yes.
I just wanted to ask Sue and Phil about the expert speaker that you had. Just actually, the one you picked was the one I was interested in. Just tell me about it.
Well, so again, we were very lucky. Yeah, go ahead.
So we were lucky and unlucky. The expert speaker was a quick follow-up to Never Is Now. It was the speaker was Evan Bernstein, who had the position before Scott did. And fortunately and unfortunately, we got a good crowd because it was on a Thursday, and the prior Monday, 3 days before, was a large incident in Jersey City that people are probably aware of. So that changed the content of it, but it was obviously incredibly timely. And Evan actually had come there from Jersey City. So it turned out, unfortunately, probably being better than it could have been because of the relevancy, urgency, timing, et cetera. But I think it wouldn't have mattered. The crowd was excited from Never Is Now. And with that as the base, people want more. And so it was great to have it regardless of then the way it played out. I think it played out better, but it would have been great anyway. What do you think?
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so we got another question through the chat on the breakdown of denominations of synagogues. So we have the majority of the synagogues that are active in the program right now are Reform and Conservative. We do have a number of modern Orthodox and Orthodox synagogues that are involved. And any denomination, any synagogue is able to join the program. That's not a problem, and we do have a pretty wide range from Reform all the way to Orthodox that are currently in the program. So thank you for that question, Susan. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I'm just going to put my email in the chat right now. I'm also going to be sending everybody a follow-up email. So if you have any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to me. And I'm happy to speak with each of you individually to talk about how we can get your synagogue more involved through the Signature Synagogue program, or talk about other ways that we can collaborate. Feel free to email me. But again, I will be sending this information along with all of the things that we covered today on Thursday's program. I'll send you that information on our events coming up. And yeah, so thank you all so much for joining. And
Actually, I had a quick question, Hannah. Just
yeah.
I'm curious what happens after the year. I mean, does ADL continue to be a resource? And
yeah, so the idea of this program is that the synagogue will join and then continue to join year after year and compound on everything that they've learned and to continue to use ADL resources and programs. We have such a variety of programming and resources that you could really continue this year in and year out and continue the partnership. So the idea is that you would continue.
Great. Pardon me, everybody. I'm new, and I'm also learning myself and excited about this program.
Okay, so I will be sending that follow-up email. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you want to join the program, we can start tomorrow. I mean, we're ready, we're active. So we're really looking forward to working with all of you and expanding ADL, our reach throughout New York, New Jersey. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, you too.